Hey there, House of the Dragon fans, welcome to the channel. The Iron Throne is the Westerosi chair version of the Sword of Democles, with a hint of Thor's Mjolnir, cause the throne also judges who's worthy of sitting on it and who isn't. If someone isn't worthy, say like the Mad King Aerys, the throne cuts them up like Christmas ham. And something similar happened with Queen Rhaenyra Targaryen, the first of her name. Somehow, right after taking the Iron Throne, she committed 4 great follies, and ended up ruined, so much so that she had to sell her crown to raise some coin. But why is that ugly iron chair made of swords considered to be more than a monarch seat? What are Rhaenyra's 4 follies? In this video, I'm gonna answer these questions and more, so wear your spoiler hats as we're about to take flight. Let's begin. Why the Iron Throne's possibly sentient. So what exactly was the Iron Throne? Was it merely a chair made of swords, or was it something far more dangerous than that? In fact, there's a very real possibility that the damn chair was sentient, and its importance was only underscored by the fact that any man or woman who wanted to rule Westeros never said that they wanted Westeros or the Seven Kingdoms. They always said that they wanted the Iron Throne, and such was the throne's value in Westeros. The throne became another name for the Seven Kingdoms itself, and also for the political order that came into existence after Aegon Targaryen, the first of his name, conquered Westeros with fire, blood, 3 dragons, and 2 sister wives on his side. Once he had defeated his enemies and earned the name Aegon the Conqueror, he created a throne that matched the kind of message as well as legacy he wanted to leave behind. This was not meant to be a soft royal seat where a king could relax. This was like the Sword of Democles hanging over anyone who dared to sit on the throne. Aegon forged the 1,000 blades of his fallen enemies to create his uncomfortable seat. According to the songs, 1,000 swords had been forged in Balerion's fire to make it. But of course, the grounded armorers had a hand in the creation of the Iron Throne. The blades were beaten, twisted, melted into this uneven metal monstrosity, and over time, it became the symbol of power and conquest in Westeros. And yeah, over time the Iron Throne's size was reduced considerably, possibly because the kings who came later were themselves intimidated by what the throne looked like. At first, the Iron Throne was kept inside Aegon Fort, the wooden castle Aegon built, and the city that grew around Aegon Fort later became King's Landing. But what made the Iron Throne so dangerous? Well, Aegon had been one of the strongest men to rule Westeros, and naturally he wanted his successors to understand that ruling was not about comfort. It was never supposed to be comfortable, or easy. It was responsibility, caution, composure, and constant awareness, and then there was the ever-impending threat of assassination. So when he built the throne, he sacrificed ease in favor of being aware, and he did so purposefully. The throne was not meant to let a king sit back and feel safe. It was meant to test him. If a ruler was careless, the throne punished him for that, and King Viserys had learned that lesson the hard way. And even after 300 years, those blades could still cut deep, and that was the only physical danger. According to the mythology created by George R.R. Martin, the throne could also judge the person who sat on it. If a king was unjust or unworthy, the throne could cut him again and again. In rare cases, it could even kill the ruler, as it happened with Aegon the Dragon's second son and 3rd king of the 6 Kingdoms. Oh yeah, Dorne was brought into the fold much later. Anyway, a king whose reign lacked peace, or a king who had no problem with violence, could end up facing the force of his own throne. In some cases, the cut was almost like a warning after a rash decision. The throne did not speak, of course, but when a sword sliced into royal flesh, the message was clear, that the king had erred. And the fear of these cuts was not only about pain or death. The people of Westeros believed that if the Iron Throne cut a king, the king was then unfit to rule. So a wound from the throne could become more than an injury. It could become a public sign of weakness, a sign that the realm itself had rejected its ruler. And in Westeros, once people smelled weakness, it only meant that rebellion was being brewed. The most chilling and extreme example of this had to be King Maegor Targaryen, the first of his name, better known as Maegor the Cruel. As I mentioned, he was the younger son of Aegon the Conqueror, and he took the throne after his older brother, King Aenys Targaryen, died of illness. Aenys had left behind a kingdom where the faith rebelled against the crown, mostly because Aenys couldn't put a handle on the situation. He was just one of the weakest kings that Westeros ever had, and when Maegor usurped the throne from Jaehaerys I, Maegor dealt with the said rebellion of the faith with deadly force. He killed thousands of septons and septas, and over time, this guy even killed his wife. Even his own allies began to abandon him because of his savage nature. In the end, Maegor was found dead on the Iron Throne with one of its swords plunged through his neck. Now, some believe that the throne had judged him and executed him too. Others believe men had murdered him and made it look like the throne had done the deed. Either way, it was a very fitting end for a king called the Cruel. But Maegor was not the only victim. King Viserys had also been harmed by the throne, and Rhaenyra Targaryen was cut by it when she sat upon it. Many years later, King Aerys Targaryen, Daenerys' father, became another sorry victim. Aerys had developed a taste for burning people, so needless to say, he wasn't exactly the model of a worthy king. In the books, he was cut so often that his body always had many half-healed wounds, and people called him King Scab. And then there was Joffrey Baratheon, who was also cut by the throne in the books, but I don't blame the chair for that. Anyone who's forced to carry the weight of that monstrous piece of crap would fight back. So let's talk about Rhaenyra and why we think the Iron Throne has judged her already. What calamities do Rhaenyra's injuries portend? Septon Eustace, who clearly favored Aegon II, wrote at length about how Rhaenyra was cut in several places during her tenure as queen. He writes that after Rhaenyra landed in King's Landing and took the Iron Throne, she accepted pleas of forgiveness and loyalty from those in the Red Keep all throughout the night. But during these long hours on the Iron Throne, she suffered several cuts on her legs and left hand, and this despite the fact that she was wearing armor. Those who were present at the king's court confirmed this, and it was thought by many that the blood dripping from her body was proof that the throne had not only judged but also rejected her, and that her days on the Iron Throne were now numbered. And true to that, the good Queen Rhaenyra ruled the Six Kingdoms only for half a year. After coming to power, Rhaenyra became stout from gluttony. She was no longer the realm's delight, and in the days to come, Rhaenyra did a few things that made the realm hate her. And amongst these haters, the most loathsome were the small folk of King's Landing. What were the 4 follies of Queen Rhaenyra after she took over? So after Rhaenyra finally took King's Landing, the people actually welcomed her, at least initially. I mean, Aegon II and Aemond had not exactly filled the city with love and loyalty, so when Rhaenyra arrived, many in the capital saw her as a better option. But things were going to go bad for the Black Queen soon. Rhaenyra had won the city, yes, but what she inherited was bankruptcy. Once in power, Rhaenyra sent Night Inquisitors after those who had helped Aegon escape the capital. Soon the spikes on the gates had more heads on them each day. And not to mention, this was a terrible look for a queen who had come in as the rightful heir. Fear may have helped her hold the city for a while, but fear also had a habit of turning into hatred when the hungry people had no coin, no peace, and no faith left in the crown. The financial problems made everything worse. When Viserys I died, the royal vaults had been full of gold, but by the time Rhaenyra took King's Landing, the treasury had been emptied. The Greens had sent 3/4 of the gold away for safekeeping to the Iron Bank of Bravos, Old Town, and Casterly Rock by Sir Tywin Lannister, and the rest had been spent before the fall of the capital. So Rhaenyra needed coin urgently, and her new master of coin, Lord Bartimus Celtigar, placed fresh taxes on the people. These taxes grew day by day, and naturally the small folk turned against her. Eventually they gave her the cruel nickname King Maegor with teats, and Maegor's teats remained a common curse in King's Landing for 100 years after that. This was the first folly of Rhaenyra Targaryen after she took the throne. That is, not understanding the plight of the people, especially the poorest of the poor from King's Landing. Then came the matter of the dragon seeds. After Rhaenyra heard about the 2 betrayers, she grew paranoid and declared the 2 remaining dragon seeds, Sir Adam Valerion and Nettles, to be traitors as well. And this decision was disastrous. Lord Corlys Valerion, her hand, had named Adam his heir, so he warned him in time. Adam escaped on sea smoke, but Corlys paid the price. Rhaenyra had him arrested, and because of that, the Valerion fleet abandoned her cause. So in one move, she lost trust, ships, and one of her strongest allies. This was the second folly. Next, Nettles created another problem for the queen, who was not able to see things clearly and was plagued with fear. Rhaenyra sent a letter to Lord Manfred Mouton and ordered him to kill the girl. But Nettles was under his roof and protected by guest right, so Mouton refused. He knew Daemon would likely kill them if they obeyed, but refusing Rhaenyra also made him a traitor. He believed King Viserys I and Jaehaerys I would never have asked for such a thing. So after Nettles and Daemon left, he changed his allegiance to Aegon II. Again, Rhaenyra's fear cost her support. Lastly came the final break in King's Landing. Helaena Targaryen, beloved by the small folk, died by suicide, and many people believed Rhaenyra had ordered her death. Which of course was untrue, but the people of King's Landing believed the rumor, and the fact that this story spread so easily, so far, and so quick explains the mood of the people and their level of distrust in their queen. The riots grew until they led to the storming of the Dragon Pit, and Rhaenyra lost her son Joffrey Valerion in that disaster, along with several dragons young and old, including Syrax and Dreamfire. After this, Rhaenyra fled King's Landing. With almost all her other children dead, she refused to let Aegon out of her sight. She moved past Roseby, Stokeworth, and Duskendale in terror and grief, gray and worn down by everything the war had taken from her. She even had to sell her crown to raise enough coin for passage on a Braavosi merchant ship called the Violand. But when she reached Dragonstone, Sir Alfred Broom betrayed her, and his men killed the last of her Queen's Guard. In the end, her half-brother Aegon II had her fed to Sunfire. Rhaenyra had taken the throne, but the throne took everything from her. That's all in this one, folks. If you liked the video, please consider hitting the like and subscribe buttons. Those 2 small clicks from you will help us tremendously in bringing you more of these marvelous videos. Stay safe and have a good one.